Hey, what's up? I should have hidden behind all that stuff and then just popped out. I didn't have that much practice time. Hey, thanks to Kim and Creative Mornings for asking me to come talk to everybody. Thanks to you guys for coming and listening to me talk for a little while and drinking coffee. And I'm going to talk about the topic of craft. We decided against doing a projector or anything because technology is so played out and boring. So if you guys just want to look up, if you go to my Instagram, it's just I Feel Realistic. You can also search for Jason Steady. If you just want to just flip through pictures, I won't be mad if you're looking at your phone. Some of the stuff as I talk, you'll probably realize this is what he's talking about. Okay, well, hey, I'm Jason Steady. I live in Omaha, Nebraska. I've always lived here ever since I was a dumb little baby. I have a house. I have a yard. I play guitar sometimes. I ride a motorcycle sometimes when it's nice out. I make stuff. And sometimes people pay me to make stuff, and that is the coolest thing in the entire world. It doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's cool. You might be familiar with some of my work with, for, and through the Omaha Chamber of Commerce, Secret Penguin, Flagship Restaurants, or Scout Dry Goods, among others. They're all based here in Omaha. I try to only work with locals. So I just got back from a 2.5-week long tour of the West Coast and the southwestern United States. We took my work van, it's right over there. We brought all this stuff in it today. We kind of converted it into a camper of sorts. We build like a bunk in the back that all of our equipment can go under, and a bed is above it so we can sleep in it if we can't find somebody who will let us sleep in their house. Yeah, we went to Kearney, Nebraska. We went to Denver, Colorado. We went to Salt Lake City, Utah, Reno, Oakland, San Francisco, Jingletown, Santa Cruz, where Lost Boys was filmed. We went to Montaña de Oro State Park. We went to Ventura, California. We went to Phoenix, Arizona. Albuquerque, New Mexico, Roswell, New Mexico. And then we went to Lubbock, Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Lawrence, Kansas, Lincoln, Nebraska, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and then back to Omaha. We went all over the place. This was just me and my friends Ryan and Aaron. We play in a band together. We make songs, and then we get in a van and we go live in a van for 18 days. It was cool. But I bring this up because I want you guys to all think that I'm really cool, and I want you to really like me a lot. But I'm also bringing this up because I want to talk about the process behind putting a trip like that together. So in life, everything is a problem, and that sounds negative or bad, but it's true. If you're not just relaxing on the beach every day, all day, with everything you've ever wanted surrounding you, then there's some sort of problem, and it needs to be solved. I guess you could say situation if you think problem's too negative, but problems get solved, it's cool, whatever. So everything is a problem or a situation, and situations, problems need solutions, and the easiest way to do that is a step-by-step how-to solution. And every single thing in the world can be solved that way because everything's the same. So let's say the problem is just that the garbage needs to go out to the curb. This is an easy one. Step 1, take the garbage out. It's all done. I love when a problem only has one step. But typically I find, and you've probably also found, that when you're solving problems, there's a lot of steps involved. So, well, for booking this tour, first we looked at a map. And we tried to find 18 cities or stops or points of interest on a map, 18 days worth of stops that kind of made a circle so that we'd end up back home without any long, gross drives. We put those cities into a calendar, sorted them out by date, and tried to figure out we wanted to be in cooler cities on the weekends, less cool cities on Mondays. Once we knew where we were going to be each day that we were gone, we just started Googling for bands, bars, venues, art spaces, DIY spaces, anybody who would accept a blind email from a band in Omaha. We would email them and ask them, "Hey, can we come to your city and play a show, and would you like to help?" Now, I don't know how many people receive blind emails on a daily basis. I know it is my least favorite thing. But sometimes your email address is out there and people can find you and they'll email you. When you get an email like that from a band that wants to know if you can help their band, you have to decide how nice you want to be with an email like that. Because the cool thing is you can just hit delete, you can just archive it. You don't even have to respond when someone's just reaching out. But you can also be nice and you can just like respond back to a band and be like, no, I'm not going to help your band. But we lucked out. It took us like 3 months, usually booking something like that. You start 3 months out, and through a very persistent yet very polite 3 months of blind emailing, we had an entire trip booked. We had it all done. It totally worked. We had a problem with the van on day one, and we got stuck in North Platte getting some tires replaced and stuff. But after that, it was smooth sailing. We made enough money to pay for the trip just by playing shows every night. We got to go like camp in some cool places, see some cool stuff, and it worked out. So like the problem, if everything's a problem, the problem being solved there was just that we weren't on tour. Like, we're not on a road trip, let's solve this problem. And so we did. But it's basically like work, solving that problem, at least work that I am accustomed to doing or whatever. We had to sit at a computer. We had to look people up. We had to research stuff. We had to email people. We had to draw some stuff. We had to schedule meetings. It's all the same. Problem solving is all the same. But you just pick, like, if you're working, if that's your job, you get like benefits and paychecks for it. And when it's not your real job and you do it, you just get to go on a cool road trip with your friends. But it all works out. We'll talk about a work. We're talking about work problems isn't as fun, but here's like a work one then. Flagship Restaurant Group here in Omaha, they have like Blue Sushi, Plank Seafood, Blatt, Beer and Table. The food hall out at the West Roads, they've got stuff everywhere. They contacted me about Blue Sushi specifically, and they were like, hey Jason, and I was like, hey, what's up? And they said, do you know a paper crane, like an origami crane? They wanted to know, they're like, we have, the sushi place that you're well aware of, and we want large origami cranes in it made out of plywood, like real big ones. Can you build that? And so I didn't want to say, at the time I couldn't, but I thought maybe I would be able to figure it out. So I told him, like, give me a week and I'll let you know if I can do that. And then let me So I took a week, and this is not plywood, this is just MDF, but here's a little folded one. So I built this in a week and then was able to have a meeting with them and say, yeah, we could do it. How big do you need them? And they need, we built, the biggest one we made was 9 feet wide. We made some big ones. The wings had to come off and be bolted on site for installation. So that I had to engineer a disassemble, one that could be disassembled. I had never done this before. I had never built a paper crane out of any material other than paper. So I got on Google, and I Googled as far as the eye could see for somebody who had already done this. So I could be like, hey, what's up? What can you share with me about this process to make it a little easier? And it turned out that no one had ever done this before. At least that I can tell. People have built big wireframe ones, big metal ones. No one had built wood ones using those particular techniques. So yeah, I was just looking for some sort of like detailed how-to article, or like somebody's Instagram who was just completely dedicated to just building big cranes. But there was nothing. I was all alone. So I just kind of had to Google other sorts of projects and research other geometric sort of things, ways of wood fitting together, to figure out how to do it. And it wasn't easy. I invented a tool for finding angles, just so I could find all the angles. And then after I had invented it and used it to find all the angles and everything, I was at Menards and found out that tool already exists and is really inexpensive at Menards. It's called an angle finder, which interestingly enough is the name I gave the one that I invented. But now I have a store-bought one. It's great. I also bought a digital caliper. It's like a little sliding metal device that has a digital readout on it, and you can measure. So like with this, I could take it and I could measure the length of each little piece. I could amplify that by a specific number using algebra and enlarge it and make it bigger. I had to run things through a table saw in extreme finger-endangering ways. I had to remove all the guards. But who has all the guards on their table saw anyway? But I still have all my fingers. This one's kind of numb a little bit, but I didn't lose anything. So I spent a huge portion of last year all hunkered down in my shop, which is at my house, just building these cranes. We built 3-foot ones, we built 6-foot ones, and we built one big 9-foot one. If you scroll through my Instagram, there is a picture of the 9-foot one on top of my car in my driveway, so you can see just how big it was. I probably should have gotten an assistant or like some sort of intern or somebody to help me or whatever, but sometimes it just feels good to work 60 hours a week, just nonstop, just making birds, you know. I forget exactly how many we made. We might have made like 20 of them, 20-something of them. They all went to new locations in near Chicago and then in Lexington, Kentucky. Blue sushi is like all over the place. A lot of people don't realize that. But so the birds that I built are a little hard to see from here because they're way over there, wherever they are. There is one at Scout Dry Goods in Dundee. There's a 6-foot one made out of wood hanging from the ceiling. If anybody wants to check it out. But the process for building the bird and all the Googling and the searching and the researching and the decision making and stuff wasn't really any different than booking that tour. I looked stuff up, I looked at a calendar, I emailed people, I asked lots of questions. We spent a few months planning and plotting, and then and when it was all planned and plotted, we built a bunch of birds, you know? Working for Secret Penguin, a couple people are here. I worked for them for a little while, an Omaha-based branding agency. We often casually talked about how to simplify the description of branding for clients to help them understand like what, how, or why branding is important or what the value is in that. And I always found myself returning to the word consistency. We were creating a set of guidelines, not only visual, but guidelines relating to the feel, the experience, and the general aura of each client. And when those guidelines are consistently adhered to in visuals and decision making, in the design of spaces or the wording of social media posts and printed materials, boom, suddenly there's a brand there. So I bring up booking a tour and building a bird because while the problems and their solutions were very different, my approach to solving those problems was the same. It was consistent. I looked at the problem, determined what that end solution was, and then spent time researching and experimenting with each necessary step to solving that problem. And the most consistent thing I did throughout each of those problems was to not make any decisions and to not move forward until I felt that I had all of the information necessary to move in such a way that I would not have to constantly look over my shoulder and wonder if I had made the right decision a few decisions ago. I consistently challenged myself to make educated decisions that I was confident would only move us closer to the solution. So how do you do that? How do you make educated decisions, confident decisions? Decisions that you're not second guessing for the entirety of your project? Well, that's easy. Just find someone who knows what they're talking about and listen to them. They don't even really need to be an expert, you know, or even really very good at what they're doing. You can talk to somebody really dumb if you want. The dumbest person you know. I'm kind of kidding, but everybody has a person in mind, though, right? Your dumbest friend, that's still kind of helpful. I'm just kidding. But you can talk to everyone. Everybody you talk to will at least like open some sort of door to some sort of perspective or some sort of something. Now, your decision should be a culmination of everybody you've talked to, everything they said, even if it was kind of dumb. And that should influence you, you know. People are confronted with problems all day long, every day, or at least I am. I hope some people out there aren't. Most of the time, a problem you're trying to solve has already been solved by somebody else. And when somebody solves a problem, they're typically really, really excited to talk about how they solved that problem and to share that information. And if you're excited to listen to them, and you're like not too far up your own butt, chances are they probably have made your life easier by solving that problem for you first. So just listen to them, you know? There's something endlessly satisfying about forging your own way through something and creating a wild and wacky way of executing something or finishing a problem that lots of people try to solve, but here's your unique way of doing it, and that's great. I love that stuff, and a lot of my work is totally based on that. However, the first time you do something, you should just listen to somebody who's already done it and then just kind of do it their way. Because then you put a win like in your belt because you accomplished that task and you learned like conceptually what it means to finish that task. Then the second time you do something, then just get weird and do whatever you want. Experiment with techniques, that stuff. You don't need to have custom developed techniques for every solution that you want to, every solution that you're executing. And you certainly don't need them the first time. So listen to others, take advice, adopt strategies, and then move forward in a weird way later. I suppose that's basically it. As far as craft goes, I believe that craft is how you solve problems. I don't think that's necessarily with your hands or always with your mind or with your feet or with tools or however you solve those problems. I think that your craft is, and I think everybody's craft is similar, it's how you navigate those problems and how you navigate them consistently and do it the same way every time for success. It's so funny. I practice a lot and trying to make sure that it was like long enough, and then I get up and I just start reading. So that's basically it. That's my talk on craft. Is just listen to people and have fun, and do whatever you want. I'm gonna go bang this gong right now, and then I think if anybody wants to ask questions, is that what we do? Okay, I'm gonna hit the gong.